Hey guys, we're on in just under a minute. Let's get the viewer count up. So go around and share this thing on all the places. I didn't get a chance to do any pre-show shares, so help me out and get the word out. Thanks. Hey, we're back with another episode of Let's Talk Reef.
Here we are.
That's right. How's it going, Paul?
It's going good. Terrence, how's it going with you?
It's going good. It's going good. A lot of travel.
Just a little.
A lot of activity. A lot of things going on.
That's how the summer is.
Getting some sun.
Yeah, I noticed you got a nice rosy complexion right now.
Out in the yard and whatnot. Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there for sure. Vincent over here. Paul. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Myself, quite a few years, but all of you guys out there, all you fish keepers and coral keepers and whatnot, even if you're not a father of a little child, you're a father of your fish.
That is a true statement.
And I got the best present for Father's Day. I got a new knife. Okay. I'm not a knife person, so I'm sure there are some people out here on this stream that'll probably laugh at my knife. Okay. I know one in this company who will laugh at my knife.
He will point blank laugh at you.
For sure. Even Vincent probably laugh at me behind my back.
You call that a knife?
Yes, but I was very happy because buying a knife for somebody else is kind of like buying shoes for somebody else. It's a very personal kind of thing. And I opened it up on Father's Day. My wife, Apex Mom, Nancy, you know, she's there. And I'm like, this is almost the exact one I was looking at. It's a Leatherman, but it's not like a multi-tool.
It was probably in your, you had probably searched for it at one point, and then it showed up in her feed.
She says no.
I don't know about that.
But it is very cool, and I did need a new knife, and it's got all this like cool attachments and everything. So little props to Leatherman, but mostly to my wife. Thank you for Father's Day.
Can you use it around salt water?
I don't know. I'm not gonna.
You want to try it?
I'm not gonna chance it.
Try it out?
I like it too much. But definitely happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Have been doing a lot of traveling. So we did, I mean, my end of COVID kind of travel started with Mark Levinson going out to his place, getting the sky over his tank, and that was the first kind of post-COVID travel I did. And then it was Reefapalooza that we did in Orlando.
Yep.
And then Reefapalooza one more time.
No. Aquashella.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry. Also in Orlando.
They're just so similar.
Separated by 6 weeks. They are different shows, and we can talk about some of the differences today, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe we could do that.
They are definitely a completely different type of show. And in the past, I've been to one. I went to the one in Dallas. It was at some really kind of ancient fairplex or something. I mean, I think it was like built for like the World's Fair in 1928 or something. It was super old. And I mean, they did their best to decorate inside, and it had all this black stuff. And Justin Credible came in and did all of this cool stuff, and it was all very cool, but it was definitely on a different level than, say, Reefapalooza. But I'm telling you,
they step it up every show. They're definitely getting their wheels under
so,
it.
They're really smart, though. They didn't come to me and say, Terence, come to the show. Come to, like the aquatic experience guy. Can't remember his name. He'd come to me all the time. Just sign up for the show. Just sign up for the show. Just sign up for the show. Instead, basically, they signed me up and said, you got a booth, and we made you the Aqua Crib sponsor.
Yep.
And I didn't even get a contract or anything. And I'm like, oh,
well,
okay.
I mean, if someone tells you you're the sponsorship of the Aqua Crib, you're just like, yeah.
Well,
I want to sponsor that.
It's totally cool. I had no idea what it was. But
Yeah,
Aqua
well,
Crib just sounds cool.
It just sounds cool, right? You know?
And so the thing is about it was like, I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh great, is this going to be like $7,000 somebody's going to drop in front of me? And if it is, I'm just going to tell them where to go, right? And if not, maybe it's going to be a great freebie or something. So let's go for it. So I just kind of didn't think about it, didn't mention it to anybody. And we went to the event, and it was at the Gaylord Palms Hotel, which is a Marriott property, a big Marriott property. They got crocodiles, alligators, turtles inside. It's
I heard it was a cool resort.
It's like got a dome over it, so it's all the pools and water. It's all air conditioned, so you don't feel anything of what's outside. Thank God in Orlando this time of year.
This time of year, that ain't fun.
And it was a great event, and had some cool stuff. We have some footage of our booth there. We never go lowball in the booth. It's either it's 100% or nothing.
Are you going to booth or are you going to booth, right? And I think that's something that we've really.
Yeah, it's our pride. It's our pride to show the brand and show people the product and show product running, not just showing product that is static product or tell you how it works if you were able to see it. Vincent's going to pull it on here in a second. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He thinks it's going on, I think, on the main screen right now. But he's actually in sandbox mode.
Yes.
There we go. So there's the booth in Aquashella. And you notice here we got obviously our big screen showing stuff off. We got a whole new backdrop.
And to give you perspective, that's 20 feet by what, 12 feet tall?
No, it's 8 foot high by 20 foot, but it's sitting on top of 3.5 foot high.
And then this is a 75-gallon aquarium.
Yeah, pause it right there for a second. So yeah, that's a sky over a 36-inch wide tank. So we get a lot of people ask, well, does it cover?
Does it cover it? Does it cover it? And so that's a 36 by 20.
And you can see the light in the back corner and the reflection if you look in the back corner over there.
See some of those shimmer lines. And
tank was a little cloudy because they had smoke machines running. That's what they told me. I think the filtration just needed to be a little bit better, to be honest. But but it just filled the tank with light, and it's a great demonstration for the sky to show that with this one light, you really can not just give light to the tank, but really illuminate the entire tank.
And this is not in photo mode. It's probably
Correct.
in Neptune Sky mode.
With a lot of blue on it right now.
With a lot of blue on it right now.
Because that's what people like to see at the shows,
yep,
for sure. All right, keep it rolling. So when we come to the show, we bring tons of product there. Usually one of our top dealers in the area helps out in the booth by setting up these tanks and also helps sell in the booth. So we'll usually have product there at the booth so people who want to pick up some extra Neptune Systems gear can pick it up, which is what's happening right there. And then there is the 200-gallon innovative marine tank that we have with the third-party mount made by Adaptive Reef, Kyle at Adaptive Reef, which is really cool. It fits on a Eurobrace tank, which is what this is.
Hold it right there.
That's a good one right there. And you can see how it's made. It's got a piece of 1010, so it'll fit any size tank with those brackets. And he makes rimless brackets as well for it. And this is kind of still a prototype.
It's interesting. For a Eurobrace tank, it was a really interesting mount when we set it up at Orlando, and I think it was nice that it was kind of everything was all ready. But essentially, right, it's got a little space, a little gap, right, where the U will hold on to the Eurobrace there.
Yeah, it goes the lips under.
Yep, and then all that you have basically spanning that is some 80-20, right?
Yep.
Then he's got those mounts over the top. Done.
The acrylic mounts that put it over the tank that way, and he's got them that run the other direction too, so you can run it either way. Very, very cool tank. I love that innovative marine tank is really nice peninsula tank. I think it's a sleeper in the industry, to be honest with you. Not many people knew about it, and when they looked at it, they really loved it.
It's a great tank.
Thanks for the super chat there, Battle. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, definitely. And Sky's coming along.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are.
It is.
I wasn't
building.
I wasn't at the last show, and all of our team is just working hard on getting ready for that launch. It's almost there. That's what I will say at this point.
Yeah,
maybe Terence wants to elaborate a little more than that.
When we did Reefapalooza in Orlando, we said that we would be shipping in about 4 to 6 weeks to the dealers. We're still pretty much on track for that. It might be, it might be 7 weeks or something from that time frame.
Last weekend was 4 weeks.
Was
right?
it?
So this weekend was 5 weeks. So this is the 6th week now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're probably
We might slip a
end
week or
with
two,
7.
but they're
Yeah.
building like crazy out there. We did have some supply issues with packaging that did not come in when it was supposed to.
These people.
But
These people.
we have it now, and that's like the last piece of the puzzle, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
So we should be able to start getting them out to dealers,
Right.
and we will almost certainly have a pre-order, an authorized pre-order that once we give out the allocations to all the dealers, will allow them to do a pre-order both online and at the stores.
Yeah.
So, but that was Aquashella. But we spoke about the Aqua Crib, so we can take a look at the Aqua Crib.
Oh, you have video of the Aqua Crib.
So this was really cool. You don't see all of this in the picture right now, but this was because we sponsored the Aqua Crib. Now the Aqua Crib is, you can just leave that looping. The Aqua Crib is a walk-through experience with, you can see some of this black light stuff, and it goes from freshwater through planted tanks, through pond stuff, and into the saltwater section. And when you enter the saltwater section, one of the first things you see is this display that they set up, and it was amazing. I mean, they put this whole thing together.
Yeah. So the couple weeks before, like, hey, we need this, this, and this, and I said, well, what are you going to do with that? We're going to, and then they ran me through everything. I was like, well, it looks like you guys have everything you're going to need. And so there was an aquarium. Was there an aquarium associated with this?
There's also an aquarium that wasn't connected to this particular Apex. It had 3 skies over it, though.
Okay.
But what this was an effects machine, more or less. And so there's 3 buttons on it. And what it would do is if you push the 1 button, it was feed your fish mode, and it had a snow machine over the top.
Oh.
And basically the snow juice, so to speak, is down in the DDR down there.
Okay.
So basically it'd pump the snow juice up to the snow machine with the dose, and fill up the snow machine, and then they push the button. It would be like, okay, we are now feeding the fish.
See,
and then it would put snow on the kids.
It's an interactive show, and I think that's one of the cool things about it. I mean, if you even look in the background, there's all of these, kind of fluorescent lifelike corals and jellyfish, and they have black lights all over everything. This is a show much more about about an experience, I would say.
Yeah, so this is the difference between this and Reefapalooza, and I'm not really commenting on one is better than the other, but you may like one experience. You may like one experience better than the other, depending on what you want. So at Reefapalooza, first of all, the environment, it's a much more bright environment, right?
Yes.
So everything's kind of lit up, and there's more manufacturers at Reefapalooza than there is at Aquashella. Reefapalooza is all saltwater pretty much, and not much other ancillary type booths that do other things.
Yeah.
Aquashella, on the other hand, it's dark, it has a vibe, they've got music playing all the time, they've got the Aqua Crib, they've got a lot of freshwater stuff there. I mean, everything from freshwater shrimp to planted tank people to aquascaping pros to contests where they show off. Like people go head-to-head on aquascaping, on fragging now, and it's more experiential, I should say, than just let's go buy some frags.
Right, and I think as from what at least from my experience when I was in Chicago 2 or 3 years ago, one of the first ones they did, which was a great experience too. It is a show that caters to a more diverse, kind of crowd.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a crowd that may not be all that familiar with saltwater as well. You do have your experienced hobbyists and things
it's a
like
mix,
that there.
right? So whereas at Reefapalooza you have everybody saltwater, and then you have maybe 50% experience, 50% down, so it's pretty well split up.
Yeah.
At Aquashella, you have people who are crossover freshwater and saltwater, who are kind of middle of the road. You've got still some expert saltwater people that are there, but they're much more of a minority. And then you have a lot of people in just the freshwater space who, by the way, at some point become saltwater people as well. And
you have people there that are also just looking for an experience.
That's correct.
And I think that you probably get a little less of that at the Reefapalooza shows.
Yes. It is definitely, and there were good speakers too. There's good speakers at both, but I think that the speaker circuit kind of thing at Aquashella at this point has surpassed Reefapalooza in the quality and the number of speakers. And
Well, I think that's something that the Aquashella guys have made a priority and focused on, right?
For sure.
Just as Reefapalooza makes other things priorities and they focus on and execute very well.
they have a massive raffle, for instance.
Right. The
usually.
raffle at Reefapalooza can't be beat.
That's
you
correct.
know? And so just a lot of things.
But we're
that
doing
they're
a Reefapalooza. So
Wait, another one's coming.
You bet.
Wait. Like when?
I fly out tomorrow night. It
Wait.
starts on Saturday.
Wait,
New York.
you're I obviously know this, but you're going to. No way!
Right.
So you're going to New York this weekend, huh?
Yes. Every
Okay.
year, pretty much, is make the New York trek, and Nancy will be helping out in the booth like she often does.
Okay.
And I'm flying out a day early to spend a day in Manhattan. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know if it's open yet or not. I'm hoping to go to MoMA in Manhattan and see that. But if not, I'll find something else to do. And then then we set up the booth on Friday, and then it's time to do another show.
Shake, rattle, and roll. Right?
I think it's going to be massive.
So there's some people, even on our team, they're like, people still don't want to go out. I really think at this point, right, people, are ready to do things again.
I agree.
And the ready to do things is going to keep on expanding over the whole entire summer. Right, until I think probably late this fall, come Labor Day, we're going to have
I
some
think
good
so,
experiences.
Sure. I mean,
out there.
there's a little bit of a lull right now in the fish world in general because it's sunny out and there's no COVID.
Right.
So fish are taking a back seat right now a little bit. But all of those people who got into the fish business last year or upgraded their tanks and then haven't had an event at all in the whole tri-state
I think there's
Northeast
going to
area.
be whole groups of people who haven't really left their tank
For sure.
in the year and a half.
Yep.
Right. And so it's talking about. How do I leave my tank, right? Where, the Apex and the aquarium controller space, right? I think that we could really have some great conversations with prospective customers at that show even.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the cool things we did at Aquashella, actually started it a little bit, or did the first kind of trial last year at Restock.
The last show of 2020.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The first and the last show.
Yeah, we weren't even exhibiting, but I brought these demo boards to try out. And but at Aquashella was the first time we really got them all put together, looking beautiful, and putting them out there. So I don't think people really know, and it probably surprised a lot of you control freaks out there who have amazing tanks with coral and stuff in them. Most of these guys at the shows run zero monitoring.
Yeah, they don't. So let's
Zero.
Let's talk about just what the experience is for one of the guys selling corals at these shows.
Yeah.
All right. So they show up typically about, all right.
Depends on which size kind of place, but the average size place.
The average size place is going to show about 1 p.m. on Friday.
That's correct.
That's about when they show up. Okay. They
Ice chest in tow.
They with an ice chest. The tank may already be there. It may not be there. Right. They put up a table. They put the tank on top of it. They, the guys coming around at the show.
Most of them ask for water. Most of them don't bring their own water.
So you have water coming around.
That's unknown.
Right, that you don't know about, right? So sometimes
usually it's good with Julian's water.
Yeah.
Usually.
So I will say this: that since Julian has taken over, essentially saying, "I will be the one to provide water at all these shows," it is so
Much more consistent.
so consistent, right? So one thing that they used
That's
to
at
do at a lot of
Reefapalooza.
shows.
That's not at Aquashella.
One
but
thing they used to do at a lot of these shows is actually mix up the water there at the show.
Right, fresh.
And they would have RO going. They would have fresh water.
And when they ran
getting
out of
delivered.
RO, it's off the tap in the kitchen.
It was it was a little crazy.
Yes, Julian sprung from two
little fishies. Accuracy gets delivered. It's what we use a lot of here in the tanks. It's what I use as well. It has a great consistency to it. So that kind of element of what the water is going to be is not so much an unknown anymore.
Right.
Right. But after that, right, you essentially have all your corals. You put them in the tank. Right. And then by about 6 or 7 o'clock, you're gone.
Yeah, you do some initial water tests. You set everything up. Imagine this: they've got heaters that they're putting in these tanks. Yeah. Okay.
That have traveled.
That they have no idea whether or not the thermostats are working or they're good or if they're going to bust or anything. And they set it all up and they kind of hope for the best.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's crazy.
And
they're all really good at it too. So they have a high success rate for sure in the parts that they know how to do.
It doesn't go wrong that often. I have seen it go wrong.
Oh, very wrong.
Very wrong. And you walk in on Saturday morning and
guys from gingerbread.
Your tank is just milky white.
Yep.
And you're like, didn't go well this time.
Yeah.
Right? So anyhow,
Yeah, and you see what they have invested. So, I mean, you know, the big ones like Top Shelf here, they have 4 or 5 tanks that they're running, right? And
At
so,
minimum.
And they're all running independent water systems, so they're not risking their entire thing. But a lot of these guys are just running one tank, right, or one system. And not only is it the value of the coral that's in there, but all the cost for them to get there, the cost of the booth, the opportunity cost, all of these things. If they lose that tank, it's thousands, easily $10,000 out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Now, it always astounds me, and they always have reasons that they tell me why they don't do monitoring. And most of them are nonsense.
So this is where we kind of where you kind of envision this idea, and Vincent also has been a huge
help on this.
Huge help on this. So you kind of saw the board there. That's a board made by Kyle at Adaptive Reef.
Correct.
And uses the same kind of idea of just goes over those rimless tanks, and the clamp can change based on the size. We put our 4 probes in there, we put an apex on there, and then we have either...
And there's zero control, it's just monitoring.
Just monitoring. And then we have either Wi-Fi at the show, or we'll give you a mobile hotspot.
Right.
And that way you now have a cellular connection. So at 10 o'clock at night, on the first Friday or the next day, and you get an alert that the tank is at 75 degrees, 74, 70 degrees, you can do something about it.
And then it goes from there, right? Because now it's the middle of the show. There's 2,000 people there. You're bagging corals out of the tank. You're needing to add water back into the tank. What water do I add? How much evaporation? On top of that, you also have the pH level, because there's so much CO2 going in the room. What's happening to the pH in the tank? There's so many different things that can go wrong with these guys, and they just weren't running any kind of monitoring. I'm like, you know what? We can help take care of that. I think Kessel is an amazing company, how they've come in and provided lights for so many people. That's an incredible...
so you don't have to worry about taking the lights off your farm tanks, right? You can just use the lights that are at the show.
So, 20, 30 vendors at the show will all have Kessel lights over their tanks. So I was like, we should just do that same thing for monitoring people's apexes. So we'll be doing that again at Reefapalooza, New York. We've got probably, 10 or 12 of those things that we'll be putting on key aquariums, key tanks around there. And
these are all resellers of Neptune Systems products, right? So they're familiar with the brand.
Yeah, so that is part of it. We are only setting these up on our dealers' tanks.
Yeah, and they use it for the show, and they give it back at the end, and then it's going to be ready for the next show.
I think it's going to be a huge show. This one, for sure, is going to be big. There's just so many people in that area. It's always a really good show.
Yeah.
And then everybody being cooped up for so long, it's got to be a big show. And the way they did it in Orlando, I liked too, which was they did groups. So they did a morning group, and they did an afternoon group, and a break.
Initially, that 7 p.m. I thought was just like a stake in my heart kind of thing, right? Because when you stand for the whole day like that, and you have to, and those last couple hours can really be brutal. Fortunately, breaking up the day like that, feeding the vendors, all that sort of different stuff, feeding the animals, it all works out really well.
Yep, for sure. So we're looking forward to seeing all you guys up there in the Northeast and the. Anywhere. You're coming from Massachusetts, come from wherever, come down and see us.
So if you're in the New York area and you're looking for something to do this weekend, it is like limited attendance, I believe, to a certain degree. They've increased that because restrictions, have also lessened. But make sure you pre-order your ticket.
Right, so you don't get there and they're like, no, sorry, no tickets.
And it's really easy to do. I think you just go to reefapaloozashow.net. And you can just get the ticket right there. And Terence and the team are going to be looking forward to seeing you this
It's going to be a great show, and we'll have...
there will be Neptune Systems product there.
Absolutely. So we'll have representation with Mutts and Butts.
Dynamic Tank.
Okay, I got to say it. I just love saying it.
It's Dynamic Tank. Okay. Mark over there, he is a great Neptune Systems
Mark,
reseller.
you love me.
And he also does a great advisement kind of consultation process for Apex.
Yeah, if you need in the Northeast anything Apex related, he's like a go-to guy. He knows his Apex stuff really, really well. So that's the show. Okay, so what's next up that we're talking about?
What have you been doing?
So I've been kind of lazy on my aquarium for a while. Everybody goes through these stages where they're really excited about things, and then they're busy with other things. And
we haven't been busy with anything recently, so.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been going through about, 2 or 3 months. First of all, the crazy part is on nutrients in my tank, right?
Yeah?
So I've got pretty bad cyano right now, and
it happens.
And it happens. And I have like zero cleanup crew in my tank right now, like zero. There's like almost none in the tank. And I
just
just
over
get
time,
eaten
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff by
All your stupid wrasses.
all the wrasses and stuff. Anyway, so I've got cyano here and there, and I got a recurring thing of bryopsis that comes back or what have you. But so I'm like, oh man, I guess my nutrient levels must be just like through the roof because I'm not paying attention to this thing or whatever. So I got a brand new NIOS test kit because I like it because it's got the colors in a row like that. It's easier for me to line up. I run through the whole test and actually ran it twice, and it was below 1 ppm on the nitrates.
So you haven't been feeding enough.
So I haven't been feeding enough, that's for sure. And I run the sulfur denitrator on the tank, and it just soaks it up.
And the sulfur nitrator sometimes is really in tune in your tank, and sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
Right now, it's probably really in tune, and then you have all that cyano that's probably consuming anything excess as well.
Yeah, and the cyano's helping out with that as well. So it's just still astounded me. I would have thought it would have been at least 10 or 20 or whatever. Because
one.
It's just one, and I was like, what? And I haven't tested the phosphate yet in there either, but it's one of those things I don't do much in the tank. It just kind of takes care of itself. But one of the things that's been bugging me for quite a while, for 5 years, I've had what I consider a really great skimmer overall on the tank. It's a reef octopus skimmer. There it is.
I mean, you can almost bear hug that thing.
It's
a big skimmer.
It's big. It's 12 inches across. It's the is it the 300? Yeah. So it's the something or other 300, and it has what I think is the largest reef octopus DC pump on there. Yeah. Skimmer pump on there, and I have a neck extension on it, which I thought was going to be key because I didn't think it was tall enough when I look at the dimensions. So they sell a neck extension for it, give a little more dwell time, and I have a skimmer wiper that they sell for it as well. And it's a great skimmer overall. The pump I thought was a little undersized. Yeah. Always running it, I thought it could do a little more air, but it was adequate. And I always ran it like wide open.
Right. It was controlled through your apex, but you always had it wide open.
It was always wide open. But I had a lot of failures with that pump. A lot of failures.
There were many times you're like, hey, I'm not there.
To be fair, there's a couple of great things. To be totally fair, there was never a problem me getting changed out parts. Now, I mean, some of that could be because it's me at Neptune. Yeah. So you got to take that into consideration. But I think I went through. I think I was on the third controller. I think I went through one pump body, and this is kind of the graveyard. And I think 1 or 2 power supplies on it, and this is over 5 years.
I think I had to run over there one time to replace the power supply for you.
So stuff happens.
Stuff happens. We get it. It happens.
But it's just a pain more than anything else. It's not just like it's not because it didn't cost me anything except for the hassle and the uncertainty. The other cool thing about this particular pump, just so you know, and I mean it's funny because people are like, why would you talk about a competitor product? Well, something's good, it's good, right? So the way that
you've always your skimmate always looks really good. It smells. Like it's smelly. It stinks.
It's smelly.
It really stinks.
But yeah, but you can remove the front of this pump, which is really nice on a needle wheel pump, is that it removes fairly easily off it.
It's a very easy pump to clean. Absolutely.
I couldn't stomach it anymore, and so I called up Steve Berlin from CJ, and I said, hey, I know you guys have some skimmer pumps. Do you have a big boy in the DC stuff? Because now that we've got the IOTA thing, and it's controllable, I'd like to see if I can get something that would be more reliable, and maybe put out a little more oomph of the air into the skimmer.
And you can't beat CJ with the 5-year warranty, right? And just the quality of
their stuff. They make a good product.
They make a good product. But I've noticed this looks a little bit thrown together.
Yes,
here.
it is.
What do you got going on here?
It is. So, I mean, first of all, the Venturi that's on there is a custom-made Venturi that Federico gave me from CJ, like personally.
Oh.
So
you know someone.
Hey, you got to name drop when you can. But Federico is one of the chief engineers, key engineers over there at CJ, and I had asked for a pump for another project a while back, and he sent me that thing, and I had it sitting around, and so I put it on, but it is not available at the moment from CJ. So CJ makes these pumps, but they sell them, I think, only in like the OEM space for the most part. I could get this wrong, sorry Steve if I do, for people who make skimmers. And
okay.
so they're generally not sold as like an upgrade thing or the way that I'm doing it. And I was like, dude, you should do this because there's a lot of people who
get tired of their people.
Well, there's
you get
tons
tired
of great skimmer bodies out there,
right?
Like from old Deltecs, from
Exactly.
ASMs, from all of these old. It's just plastic. It's just a plastic upside down funnel, is all it is.
Is Syphus still running that Deltec?
He still runs the Deltec skimmer.
Still runs that Deltec skimmer.
Yes.
Huh?
And so I was like, you guys need to make these available. And when I spoke to Steve today, he was like, yeah, I told that to them. They're thinking about it, over in Italy. And I'm like, well, after I put it on the show, you're probably going to get some inquiries.
You should probably. So if you are looking for a high quality pump for your skimmer because you're tired of whatever's going on with the current pump, you should probably email Siche and ask them for that adapter there.
Yeah. Now the other part that wasn't too conducive to this update is most of the pumps, like the Reef Octopus, like the Core, and even the Vectra pump, all use standardized fittings. Now they're the bane of most people's existence because they're not standard
in the U.S.
The BSPP or whatever type fittings, but they're standardized at least with pumps so that there are things made available to them. The Siche does not have that. It's their own proprietary threads on there, of course.
Of course it is.
So
So what did you do?
So what I did is I took a piece of 1-inch tubing and just jammed it into their fitting and then jammed it into the hole in the skimmer. So it's not ideal because there's probably a little bit of a lip, on the inside of the thing. So as the air is coming out, it's crashing into that and becoming a little less efficient than it could be. So here's an opportunity for the 3D printer dudes out there in the world that wants a real good challenge. So the real good
adapter
yes.
An adapter that goes from the Siche pump directly
to BSPP or into what
so
they're putting on these.
male adapter right there.
Yep. And then you hook right up into the Reef Octopus skimmers and give them new life. Or whatever other skimmer. It could be an ASM skimmer. It could be, a lot of other skimmer bodies that are out there that you might find in the secondary market, or you might have with
sometimes the skimmer body is so good, but the company that made it went out of business. There's probably a lot of Vertex skimmers out there like that, right?
Vincent's over here with two thumbs up.
And
Vincent
people
likes the
swear
Vertex
by
stuff.
People swear by those, but
I miss Vertex.
At some point, I don't think that you do. I think.
I thought I'd make you laugh.
That was good. That was a good one. But it's a problem that is needed. And the point that also a pump has given you so much trouble, you're just looking for another solution.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter which solution you go with. Eventually, that solution will also initially have problems as well.
Okay, and Steve just came on and said that there's a PSK 2600 and 4000. Good sales guy. He's here on the stream. And there's some other one that launches in August. I don't know.
The
I guess
Venturi
the
adapter project just accelerated. It just got new life. So what's the email address over there? Siche USA?
No, it's info.us at
Siche.com. He wants your emails.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they could have a little upgrade program for people to upgrade certain skimmers out there. But it definitely helped. And the other thing too is obviously this is now, like I said, IOTA, right? So I've got the their little driver that's on a board, so it's mounted up on my Apex board down below.
Look at Vincent.
And
look at how good he's getting.
Yeah, I know. He's just on the fly, man, in real time.
I love that. Yeah.
So I mounted up on the driver board. You notice I don't have to hook up now a 0 to 10 connection to it, like the Reef Octopus.
One less wire. Yep.
So I started thinking about, there's another update I did to my skimmer as well. So we should talk about that first, and then we'll talk about how I want to bring the two together. Okay, so most people have, in these Reef Octopus skimmers, they have in the top of them, like a lot of skimmers, they have a mount for a float switch.
Right.
So when your cup gets full, it shuts off the skimmer, and it's kind of built into the product.
But
it's
you're
fine.
You're far more lazy than that.
Way too
You're
lazy.
far more lazy than that.
I don't like picking up that whole big jug of skimmate and that big giant thing. It's just like you're like going,
On mine, it's like the salt creep gets in there, and then I put it in a little bit of an angle. So my skimmer, and I'm trying to nestle it out of there, right? And I end up.
Well, on mine, what I found, here's a secret for you guys. There's another little tip, okay? There's a great little tip. So you know how the skimmers that don't unlock, like the Reef Octopus, it's just a friction fit in there with like an O-ring, and so it's one of those things, like always, where you're working, and then all of a sudden,
boom!
It's like
that's
this.
what happens to mine. Exactly.
So on mine, the distance between the cup and the body is just a little bit smaller than my fist. So you take your fist and you rotate it like this, and it just slowly inches up the cup. And I don't have that problem. But I still didn't like all the skimmate in there, so I'm like, I need one of those skimmate locker things. I'm like, I'm not going to go buy a skimmate locker. I'm just going to make something so that it just goes out into a jug. I can dump the jug once in a while, and there you go. So, so I had a bucket laying around, and I could just as easily dropped it into the bucket and put an optical switch, and when it got full, shut the skimmer off.
I do this with my Trident roux waste.
Oh yeah?
I have a bucket inside of a bucket.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
Sometimes that other bucket gets all the way full too.
Yep. And so basically about a week's worth of skimmate is about 2/3 of that jug. So I just come down there every week and dump that into the sink and put it back in, and it's all good. But if it ever were to overflow, it hit that sensor and it shut off the skimmer.
But that's completely off.
But it's completely off, right? And so the dilemma there obviously is now I've got to find somebody, if I'm not home like I'm going this weekend, to go down there, dump out the skimmate, dump out the bucket now, which is full of skimmate, and get it all set up again.
I have a rule. I don't really look at messages from you when you're out of town, and like when it's after a point.
We make Vincent take care of the problems.
I just, you know, if it's really important, you'll call.
Yes.
Right. So.
Yes. Well. Anyway, so. What really should be done here, after thinking about it for some time, is instead of shutting off your skimmer, right? If your skimmer's overflowing, there's a number of reasons why it could have happened. Somebody could have overfed the tank, or fish died, or who knows what the situation is.
Things go wrong.
Things go wrong.
Yeah.
But usually a small reduction in the power in the skimmer will make it get back to kind of semi-normal,
right?
Or at least where it's still running and giving oxygen to the tank. So I was like, well, if we have an adjustable pump,
why not adjust it down?
Just adjust it.
So a lot of times people say, what's the point of having an adjustable skimmer?
Good point.
This is the point, right? So, you know, when you're setting up your skimmer, you're adjusting the level to make it a very wet skimmate, a very dry skimmate, and things like that. Well, when you can't be there to actually adjust the internal water inside of the skimmer, you can actually just turn the pump down to also bring down that water level.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to tuning it, especially in the beginning for a lot of people, you're tuning it at that point in time with the way the tank is at that time.
Exactly.
But as things change over the day or the week with your skimmer, you could have, you know, had it go too much. Anyway, there you can see kind of the top of the skimmer there.
Nice wet skimmate.
Yeah, I got that skimmate just coming in, you know, nicely, and there's a lot of like hacks on here with zip ties and other things.
Hey, if you don't use zip ties, then you're not doing it right. I can tell you that.
And then you can see the skimmer neck extension on there. I don't have the paddle cleaner in there. This is after I took it off, so you can kind of see how much foam it's generating. Nice tiny little bubbles too. So it's fractionating really, really well. Yeah, so Jason's like, this is the perfect setup for the Neptune skimmer. Just saying. Who knows? Who knows? I'm always learning from different things, so that someday if we ever do have a particular product, we're going to put into that product, like the Sky, those things that we learn over years and years and years of doing what we do as reef keepers.
Wouldn't it be really nice if it did this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. 100%. Oh, look, you can see my my heat exchanger tubing down below it too.
Well, wait, I didn't. Let's actually see this. He runs a heat exchanger in his aquarium.
So you can see just there. You can see a glimpse of it right down there.
Look at that. That's great.
Too close to that rock though. That's not safe.
All right. So it sounds like what you want to do, Terence, is you want to control the speed of this skimmer based on the optical level of the.
So I have two optical levels, right? One of them I want it to be slow, and the other one I want it to be off, basically, right? And then, you know, in the past with the Reef Octopus one, I could do this on the 0 to 10. So it's not like I'm inventing something I couldn't have done before. It's just now it's a little bit more fun, and you know, it's now wireless with the STC. So I'm like, yeah, we should give this a try. So how would we do that, Paul?
Well, you can do that with an Apex, obviously. So we don't have. I'm not going to use an iota pump as an example. I'm going to use a core pump just on my demo board here. It was just a little bit more straightforward for me. And I'm going to go into the configuration of that pump. Okay. First thing about a pump that's variably controlled, like an iota pump or something like that, and a skimmer, you basically want it to run the same all the time. Right. Right.
There's no reason to be doing what this is doing.
Yeah, and if you do have
this is the default setup for any pump, right?
Right. So, you know, you just remove all the points and you set the intensity to 100, right? And then you're pretty much there.
Now I threw this at Paul at the last minute, so that's why he doesn't have an SDC set up here to look at. So it's the same exact thing with the SDC, or if you were using the core.
It would be the exact same, right? So we do that first, and we're going to go ahead and just update that now because that's the baseline configuration.
Oh, and if any of you guys out there, I love using the audience, by the way. If any of you guys out there, because I've tried a couple of different things, want to come up with a different volute for the core and make a great skimmer pump out of it and send it to me, I'll test it out for you.
He's done it before.
I'll test it out for you.
Again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you need a Venturi too. So.
Yes, the Venturi has been missing actually.
Yes.
And then so that's the first thing. So this essentially now is our skimmer pump. Okay, and then I have 2 switches here, right? That could be that I put up.
7.1 and 7.2. That would be my low and high in the bucket, right?
So I'd rename those. Work. Okay, there it goes. Rename those like something like
low skim, high skim, or
skim,
whatever.
Hello.
We only get that many characters, so
we get enough.
Okay. It says sky. It said sky.
I have something on the brain. I'll tell you that much. I have something
Don't confuse people.
I have something on the brain. That is for sure.
No doubt.
And
Somebody
then,
said about a Skim Buddy. Do you know of a product called a Skim Buddy?
I don't.
Never heard of it.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So we have the 2 switches, and they come off of the FMM. So these are optical switches, and these that we sell have magnetic mounts on them. So you can basically, when it comes to time, if you ever have to dump that bucket, you just pull the sensor out, set it aside, dump the bucket, put it back in at the level that you want.
So now I'm back over to the skim, the intensity control for that iota pump.
For that iota pump, okay.
Okay, or the core if you were to have a volute and a Venturi for that. And I'm going to hit this gear. Okay, and while I'm here, I'll go ahead and rename this Foo Skimmer.
Okay.
We affectionately call you the Foo. You know this.
Yes.
Okay, and then at this point, right, I would put in my programming. So I would say if skim low, right? Now if it's covered, it's covered.
Is closed.
Closed means covered. Okay, so closed, then the speed that I want.
And that'll work.
That's it.
Even with iota.
Right? And then if I wanted it to be, if I want it to totally turn off, right?
And so the setting that you had in the graph is whatever the constant speed is that you want it to be. And then these are the overrides.
Exactly. And so now, just by referencing skim low and skim high there, and then the speed that we want to run it on.
That's not complicated at all. That's super simple.
Yeah, it's very. It was all predictive text too, right? So everything that I was typing, predictive. There isn't necessarily a task to do this because this is sort of a niche thing.
Yeah, this is like a 350 level.
Right, but
DIY project.
That's it. That's it. And then obviously you can do more complex things if you'd like.
Well, I'm going to do this when I get time, when I get back, hopefully next week. Because I'm not going. You never touch stuff like this before you go on a trip. It's just always bad news.
Right.
To start playing with things.
And you could share that with somebody else really easy, right? By just copying and pasting that and then being done with it. So that's it.
Well, that's pretty simple. So now you guys have a project. If you
so you gave a couple projects.
Yes.
Here's the homework for today, class. Okay. So Terence wants an adapter that's going to adapt a Skimmate pump to a normal BSPP fitting.
Okay.
Right. That's project number 1. Project number 2 is a volute and a needle wheel for a core.
Needle wheel and a Venturi for a core.
Yeah.
That's optimized. That would be really cool.
Optimized.
Yes.
It's simple.
Makes the best air-water mixture to man.
Simple.
And then sorry Steve, I'll swap out the the SDC at that point if I have those things. But in the meantime, the third thing is Steve's got to get Skimmate on making the Venturis for everybody.
Exactly.
Because they're going to be desired.
Whoever does it first.
Otherwise, as Emmanuel said here,
there we go.
Antonio from VCA is going to take it over.
All of a sudden now there's the core skimmer kit.
Exactly.
Boom. Right?
The CSK.
The CSK.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Vincent, do we have any good questions out there? Any Sky questions? Any other questions? I know we got a kind of a light audience today. I don't know, we're over 70, 80 people, something like that.
Cool.
It's summertime.
So Ricky, you're asking when we're offering that's still coming along nice and neat. Right now we're more utilizing it as a tool and support.
For people that are having issues.
For people that are having trouble or things like that. If at any point you want to do it now, right? Just send us an email and we'll be happy to take care of you.
Support at NeptuneSystems.com.
You know, and that's the way we're handling that right now, because it seems to be working very well.
What is MLPS? Somebody said we have to do in MLPS.
I have
to do a Reefapalooza in MLPS.
Where is Minneapolis?
Oh, is that Minneapolis? Okay.
It's MPS. That's the airport code for Minneapolis.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw MLPS. I was like, nope. What is that?
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to assume that's Minneapolis. And
so even Ken from Saltwater is here.
Hey, Ken from Saltwater.
Oh, by the way, everybody out there, BRS, Marine Depot, saltwateraquarium.com, everybody is doing 10x points this week on Neptune gear.
10x. Oh yeah, because normally we only allow you to get a 1% of points for your purchases.
That's correct.
This week,
10x points.
We're doing 10x points because you guys need to get ready for the summer.
It's summertime.
And if you don't have the needed control and automation devices.
So go out there to those places online that are doing the 10x points and give them your love, you know? And I think that's about it, Paul.
I think that's it. No, not a lot of questions.
Sky raffle at Wrap from Jake Speed. I don't think so, but...
crazier things have happened.
Yeah, if I thought about it earlier, I probably should have done one for charity. Like I've done before. That probably would have been a good idea,
really good.
But I completely forgot.
We are getting to the point where you know, we might nod and say yes, but you know,
yeah,
you might.
Possibly.
This is an audible Terence at this point. Okay, this
guys know, like,
this is a moment.
Tomorrow morning I'll come in and say, well,
he's like,
poster.
here we're doing it. I got the poster. I got the artwork.
Yeah.
The graphics are done.
It's easy.
Go.
It's easy.
It's easy. Simple. It's gonna be simple, guys. It's gonna be simple.
All right. Well, that's good. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. See us at Reefapalooza this weekend, Saturday and Sunday in Secaucus. Is that how you say it? Secaucus, New Jersey.
It's in the Meadowlands. It's in New Jersey. Don't worry, New York is just right across the river. Right. So you can go to New York as well and have that whole experience in the Big Apple.
And look, ACI Aquaculture is here too, so that's really cool.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
So really cool.
Great coral at the shows in Orlando, brought to you by ACI.
That's true. I forgot the name
great
drop.
Work.
He's
great work.
Got some insane corals. So if you've got, he's only wholesale only. So,
right. So if you
go to your local fish store and say, we saw amazing corals at these trade shows in the Neptune Systems booths, because it'll be in Reefapalooza in New York too. They're his corals.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So.
Oh yeah, because
they transferred a bunch of them to Market Dynamic Tank. So absolutely go to your local fish store and say, I love LPS. I mean, he sells all kinds of stuff, but his LPS is just insanity. I mean, there's a Bower Banky in the tank that if I didn't have a Heniochus, that thing would be back in my tank now.
He's got some connections.
Yes, yes he does.
All
so
right.
come by the booth. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with some more Sky news.
Hopefully with a lot more than just news.
Yes.
I mean, we've got
the
sites are high.
Yep, absolutely. And Chris, we'll have you on the show here sometime soon too. We just have to not interrupt you as much.
It's true.
Yeah. It's true. But we joked about it when we were at the show because he's like, I just talk and talk and talk and talk. And I'm like,
well, both of you would have quite the challenge.
Yes.
Right?
All right, guys. Till next time, enjoy those fish, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks or at Reefapalooza. Take care.
Thanks, guys.